Well, good evening, folks. Welcome to another episode of the Checkered Flag Talk Show. I hope we're sounding all right over the Ustream. We pretty much got the bugs worked out on that. Our guest this evening, well, now, we were going to have Freddie Champagne and Chris Champagne, but they, due to family obligations, they weren't able to make it. So, I appreciate you both coming out. Last minute, I called, and we got a hold of Jim and Jimmy Sturgis here. And I keep forgetting, for the life of me, which is which. Because Jim and Jimmy is pretty much the same name. So you are Jimmy Sturgis?
Yeah.
Okay, so Jimmy would probably be the younger. Hey, how you doing? This is Jim Sturgis. They both race. You both race a legend car.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, we'll get to that in a minute. But first, I want to talk about our sponsor. We've got an awesome sponsor now. Takes care of everything for us here. S&K Automotive, located at 1765 South Main Street in Lakeport. Open Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. to 5 p.m. And guess what else we're doing? We're giving away some stuff, too, tonight. And I want to give you the number. It's 707-320-1965. One thing that we're giving away is a T-shirt here from Airport Auto Brokers Late Models. Nice-looking shirt here. Gotta turn it around. So we're giving this away tonight to to a lucky caller. And back on the S&K Automotive, you get a free oil change. So if you call in 707-320-1965, you get a free oil change. But here's the thing. You've got to tell them. You have to say the Checkered Flag Talk Show sent you. So make sure you write that down. Otherwise, you won't be able to get your oil change. You got to say that. So kind of, So that's where that's at. You can catch us every night here from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. Well, real quick, I want to say on that. Tonight, you can watch us on Ustream. But the last 5 minutes of the show, we're not going to be on air on TV because I believe it's a city council meeting. And, well, once again, I'm taking it back to politics, taking a backseat to politics. Isn't that typical?
Yeah.
Yeah, so politics come before anything else. Anyway, it's kind of like, what they do with a presidential address, and you get all your regular TV shows are off. And so basically, that's what's happening. But you can catch us on Ustream at ustream.tv/channel/checkered flag. For those of you who are in TV land, you can also log on too, and our past shows are shown around the clock pretty much on there. So that's what that is. And I'm having to look on my computer for my notes because I've been so busy this week I didn't have a chance to write my notes down. So anyway, we were going to have Freddie and Chris Champagne, but I want to thank Freddie Champagne on air right now because he's the one that got me hooked up with you guys because I said, he couldn't make it. He said, look, we got some people that live right there in Ukiah, so it's kind of cool to have you guys. I'm going to get started with the first guest, and that is Jimmy. We'll get started with Jimmy Sturgis. Hopefully that's okay with you. We're not going here. He's going first. So what I want to know is first thing I want to find out is, how did you get started in racing, and what made you decide you wanted to get started in this kind of sport? Because there's not a lot of money in it. I mean, I know you got to pretty much work your tail off.
Yeah, we pretty much race for fun.
Okay, so you're doing it just for fun, pretty much. All right.
We don't make enough money to support the.
So there's no plans to really. I mean, there's no plans to really even make it in the big time somewhere. Because I know you can go far with legends. We had the INX Legends here last week. And then you have another step up. You even we even have legends in the NASCAR division also.
Yeah.
So maybe it's just about finding the right sponsorship and stuff like that. So.
Yeah, we don't have any sponsors right now.
Right. And his legend's in the studio, and for those of you watching on TV, we'll be able to have a look at it here in a little bit, sitting over there off to the side of us. What I want to know is what's in that thing. I've always been curious about what you run inside it, what's ran inside a Legend and all that.
It's a 1200 Yamaha street bike motor.
Okay.
And the car's chassis made by 600 Racing. All of them are pretty much made equal, the same.
Right.
And then it comes down to setup and driver.
Cool. So do you race a Bomber also, or is that your dad that races the Bomber?
My dad races Bomber.
Okay, we'll get to that in a minute. What about the wheels and suspension, stuff
They're all
Toyota.
they're all the same. Yeah, everyone has to have the same wheels, same tires.
Right on.
Everything's a spec class.
Okay, so it has to all be, everything has to pretty, like spec class, you say everything has to be the same in
Everything has to be the same,
Everything has
so
to
it's
come out
equal.
the same. All right.
All the rear end and the front end parts and everything are 76 Toyota Silica.
Okay.
And then like the master cylinder for the brakes and stuff, that's a 71 Volkswagen
Right,
Beetle.
Right.
Everybody has to use that. Everybody has to use
Well,
the
what's
Toyota
the type of
parts.
the car? I know they they running
J4.
Ford coupes?
Yeah, this one is a Chevy Coupe,
A Chevy coupe. What year? What year? If it was the right guy, I know they're
32.
34, I think.
a 34. 34. Now, what's the size? Is it two? Now, Is it 2/3 the size of the regular class, or is it?
I'm not sure. I know it's like 10 feet long and it weighs 1,100 pounds.
Right. Well, you guys, seem to wheel it in here pretty good. When you wheeled it in here into the studio. So, let's talk about the big one, the crash. Well, I guess we can kind of call it the big one. What happened with that?
With my car?
Yeah, with your car. Yeah.
I got tapped from behind and I got a little scared and I locked up the brakes and it just slid straight and wouldn't turn or anything.
Right.
And then I ended up flying off the track and going into the motorcycle track.
Oh, wow.
And then
Oh, yeah, you went off. I remember I announced that race. You went off, didn't you? You actually went off over the.
I drove through the motorcycle track and came back.
Oh, yeah, that was actually the
First wreck.
The first wreck.
The first wreck. Yeah, the first
that
wreck
night.
was kind of cool, and in fact, we kind of said, oh my God, he came out of nowhere, because you did. You kind of were like, oh, I thought you were broke, and all of a sudden, I thought you were done, and I seen your car come right over that. I thought was like, he came out of nowhere, man, like out of a cloud
Yeah,
of
I should
dust,
have
man.
stopped and had my car checked out at least.
Oh, so is that? Yeah.
That's what caused the wreck the second time.
I was going to
Something
ask you
broke.
that. I mean, do you think that might have been a major factor in what happened later on?
The second time he went off turn 3 that night, he end over end and landed on his roof.
I know, I saw that one. Yeah. So, how does that feel? I mean, how was that? I mean, kind of sound like a dumb question, but it's so small in there. You're kind of getting banged around. I mean, what does that feel like? Is it pretty scary?
Yeah, it's just a little bit
scary
scary being
situation
out
to
of
be in,
control when you can't control it and it's sliding and you're turning
It's such a
it
small
and
vehicle
nothing
anyway.
happens.
It's such a small vehicle anyway, when you kind of get back in
Yeah,
it.
it is tight on the sides.
Right. So let's talk about, let's get a little controversial. And you don't have to answer if you don't want to. It's okay. And I hope I don't offend anybody, but there was a little beef that you may have had with one of the accidents. We talked about it before you got on the show. Basically, what was that about? If you don't mind telling me.
I don't want to go.
You don't want to go
right
into
now.
it? You don't want to go into it right now? Oh, come on.
It's good.
Come on, Mr. Good for TV. I want ratings. It's all right. That's cool. Things like that happen. So, what could you have done differently that you feel besides what we talked about in that incident you had? Do you think what do you feel like you could have done differently to avoid that whole situation altogether?
I just needed to work on my car a little harder and get some better setup going.
Right. So speaking of working on the car, I was talking to your dad earlier, and he asked you before we went on air. He was saying that there's a lot of work put into something like that.
Pretty much from the time we leave the track the next day until we're going back out on the track. Sometimes he's in line ready to go out, and we're still wrenching on the car, believe it or not.
Right. What's the preparation during the week?
Oh, fixing all the what happened the week before.
Fixing all his boo-boos?
No, it just happens. It's a rough sport.
Yeah.
It's like the funnest thing we ever did, to tell you the truth. I wish
Right
I
on.
would have got into it years ago. It's like a great thing for kids because it makes them really get into doing hard work and enjoying it.
Yeah, that's really good, and I'm actually very proud of him. We're still trying to get him on our show, but we had James Bickford on our show before.
Right.
And James Bickford, as you may have heard, is moving up to a
Yeah, he
legend.
came down and drove Legends with us.
We let him. We went down
Oh
on
yeah,
Sunday.
didn't he get? It was your legend. You let him test, didn't you?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, small world. I totally forgot about that.
We went down on Sunday, and they brought like 6 of the Bandolero drivers down to the track.
Right.
And Blair Aikens let them go out and run the cars on the track.
I walked down there that day. I was here that weekend, and so you got to a couple of kids got to test your car.
Yeah.
Right on, man. So how does that feel for you? Kind of pretty cool. It kind of makes you feel like you got someone following in your footsteps.
Yeah,
kinda?
those little kids are fast too.
Oh yeah, they are. Yeah, they are. Especially James. James went and tested one for Joe Custer. You may have heard the story. I talked about it. on the previous show and up in the announcer's booth. He was testing one out for Joe Custer, and you may know who Joe Custer is. He is the manager for Tony Stewart. So I think the kid's going to go a long way, and that's pretty cool. You got to let him get in your car and get out there and stuff. So what about? Let's talk a little bit about the not to get off to the subject about the bomber. So you race a bomber,
Right.
okay? So what's that? What is that like?
That's like the black and blue division of racing.
Okay.
It's pretty rough out
For people
there.
who don't, I mean I know, but
It's a beginner's.
for people who don't know,
class.
who haven't doesn't know what a bomber is, explain a little bit about what a bomber is and
A
how
bomber's like a mid-'70s, say, Camaro, and it's got 350 Chevy motor in it, and pretty much it's a beginner division of racing,
that works. Okay.
and but it gets real competitive too, like everything.
Oh yes,
down.
it does.
I
I've seen
mean,
them. I've seen them.
We have a lot of fun with it.
Yeah.
I wish I would have did it years when I was younger instead of waiting until I was like,
The Gray 62. That's you.
yeah.
Okay. You had an incident too, didn't you?
Well, no, last
your
week.
great- last
No, I
week?
loaned it out. I let it.
Oh, that wasn't you.
Yeah,
Okay.
Great. was on
one
Somebody,
of our sponsors.
Yeah, somebody kind of tore your car up a little bit, didn't they?
Oh, it wasn't too bad.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I
There's
was thinking
nothing
for-
we can't fix.
Yeah, nothing.
With
you
the people around Ukiah, like Mike's Unlimited, Mendocino Customs,
Right.
different
right.
people like that. Like Mendocino Customs has the frame rack if something ever happens.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
just like, bring it out, and then we go in there and he pulls it up, fixes everything for us, and then we're like, well, how much do we owe you? And it's like, oh, I was just doing that for you guys.
Right.
For just,
Speaking of sponsors, got to say it again. 707-320-1965. Call in, get one of these. Get this nice T-shirt I still have here. Boy, I wish I could take this home. Take this man. If nobody calls in, I might take it home for me. Actually, just kidding. I already got one.
Could I
but-
have it?
Yeah, maybe we'll give it. Nobody calls in, I'll give it to you. How's that? But Airport Auto Brokers late models. Bob Cook was here, and speaking of bomber, we just recently had on our show Katie Miller, who's becoming quite the bomber sensation.
Right.
And so you're going to get this, and S&K Automotive is giving away one free oil change. 707-320-1965. I don't care where you're watching. If you're watching in Ukiah, you might get over to over there for some reason. You might need an oil change. And of course, when you get there, make sure you say the Checkered Flag Talk Show sent you. Write that down, because that's going to be the key word. That's how he's going to know that you're the one coming to pick up the free thing. So tell him the Checkered Flag Talk Show sent you. He's located at 1765 South Main Street in Lakeport. For more information, call 707-263-3542. His kids also race too. Yeah, so he's our official sponsor. So back on the bomber. What do you think how do you think that Ukiah Speedway has been for the bombers, and do you think that any of the rate tracks can change how they,
what changes they could make?
what changes they can make, basically?
Well-
Yeah, that's it. That's what I was looking for.
Well, everything seems to be really good down there. The track's getting a little bit old. They're talking about repaving it and changing the pits and stuff like that.
Right.
What I think would be good is if they had some kind of more specials, like to bring in a crowd for the stands, like
Right.
senior citizen night or kids free night or something like that. I think that they'd still make money off all the people being there,
Right.
off spending for food and whatnot. I
Right.
think it was Lakeport does a few things like that during the year, and just to try and get the crowd better, because there's plenty of people in the pits racing.
And
It's-
bombers seem to be, even though you and it's true, you said that they were pretty much the beginners. Bombers are.
That's why people go.
Oh yeah. Yep. They go to watch the bombers.
The bombers are like the
Well,
backbone of.
they really are the
Small circle
backbone.
track
The
racing.
backbone of. Yeah, they are exactly. And the thing about bombers is that they're so exciting. They deliver the excitement. I mean, if from my opinion, I hate to say this, and nothing against Airport Auto Brokers late models. I hope I don't get in trouble for saying this, but I even like bombers better than I like the late models.
Oh, all the people that go down there almost.
Probably but all agree with me.
They love the bombers.
Because the bombers it deliver most of the excitement at the race. They're all over the place. They crash. They do this, and it's almost like watching. It's almost like, quite frankly,